Joining us now to go in depth on this whole issue, Cleta Mitchell. For purposes of full disclosure, we should point out that Cleta has a practice in Washington, D.C. that deals in part with election law, and back during my days in Congress, for a time, she served as my legal representation. So now, Counselor, we've made the proper disclosures. Let's talk about the here and now and what is going on in Wisconsin. Cleta, bottom line on this, is there a grain of truth in this legally, or is this totally politically motivated?
Well, it's totally politically motivated. This has been going on. Look, the papers that were unsealed, that everyone is making such a fuss about yesterday and today, were documents that were filed in the court many months ago. And it is the effort by these partisan, it's the most bizarre proceeding that they have in Wisconsin. It was filed last, I want to say September, late September, early October. It's called a John Doe proceeding. It is totally secret, and no information about it is supposed to ever come out. But some of the people who were served with these subpoenas, these conservative groups and leaders, there were one or two who were very brave and who began to talk about this proceeding. I've seen the subpoenas. I've read the pleadings. Let me tell you, this is the most frightening effort to chill political speech by partisan Democratic prosecutors trying their best to knock Scott Walker off the political stage. And everything about it is completely trumped up. And two judges, a federal judge and a state judge, have both ruled that there is no basis for this investigation. And so the prosecutor said, well, let's just unseal this and put this all out for everybody to see. And the respondents didn't object. And so now this is just the prosecutor's description of why they think the proceedings should go forward, which two judges have denied.
Cleta, as you might expect, while this is going on in Wisconsin, the Democratic National Committee back in Washington has paid more than casual attention to the entire proceeding and the investigation. Here is what the DNC press secretary had to say, quoting now, "For years, Walker has refused to answer questions about his conduct. Now that prosecutors have alleged criminal conduct by Walker, it's time for him to come clean to the people of Wisconsin and face the consequences, whatever they may be." Your reaction?
Well, my reaction is that this is the Democrats' latest ploy. It's not even really all that new. Their view is they want conservatives and Republicans to just shut up. That's why they are all for, quote, campaign finance reform, which is code word for let's curtail the First Amendment rights of everybody so that nobody can oppose us. That's why they were so upset about Citizens United. That's where the whole IRS scandal started. They've even got a bill now in Congress, in the Senate, with 41 Democratic senators as co-authors to amend the First Amendment to cut off our free speech rights. This is a campaign finance fight where those of us who believe in the First Amendment know that there's nothing to this. There's no Wisconsin law that's been broken, and two judges have said that. But the Democrats' ploy is, instead of having it out with the battle of ideas and a full and vigorous and robust national discussion, their view and their goal is to shut us up. And that's what this is.
Cleta, what you've been saying, echoed by Governor Scott Walker as he made statements in his own defense, quoting from Governor Walker now, "This is nothing more than a partisan investigation with no basis in state law. It's time for the prosecutors to acknowledge both judges' orders to end this investigation." So the governor calling for the prosecutors to heed the evaluation, the judge shopping to find someone on the bench who is happy to politicize this. Is that their next course of action?
Well, as I said, the federal judge said that this whole investigation is an egregious breach of the First Amendment rights and needed to be ended immediately. The prosecutors have appealed that to the Seventh Circuit in order to be able to continue to pursue their witch hunt. So we're waiting now for yet another judge to weigh in and to see if they're going to be allowed to continue this incredibly, unbelievably ill-conceived and restrictive, unconstitutional investigation. It's really, the people of Wisconsin need to be, I don't care what your political persuasion is, they should not allow this ridiculous proceeding to continue.
Yeah, Cleta, that leads us to our next question here. Both a state appeals level judge and a federal judge have said basically that the subpoenas failed to show any probable cause that a crime was committed in this case. And then we talked about the political motivation of this Democratic judge. Scott Walker has said something similar, but do they honestly believe, if that is exactly, are going to buy it?
Well, you know what, Wisconsin is a very polarized state. It has a long liberal tradition. And their view, you know, that was the home of progressivism. And so they view Scott Walker, particularly because he's been very brave and hasn't kowtowed to the powers that be in the Democratic Party. And they think that any Republican, certainly if you're a conservative Republican, and you hold office in Wisconsin, it makes them utterly crazy because they think you're an interloper, you're a pretender to their throne. So it's a very tough re-election for Scott Walker. He's engaged in that now, and I think they think any dirt they can smear on him, however unwarranted and however false, that's what they're going to try to do. It's going to be a very tough campaign season in Wisconsin all year.
He succeeded in the recall. He stood up to the challenges from the teachers union. And now, at least according to these judges, they believe he's going to be successful standing up to this challenge as well.
It'll be interesting to see.
Well, that's exactly right.
And as we see and await the determination by the appeals court, Cleta, you said earlier that this tactic is not unfamiliar, that it's been tried before.
Right.
I think about what transpired in Texas with Tom DeLay and the accusations, and a county attorney stepping forward with the legal action. Is this a variation on the Tom DeLay tactic, for lack of a better term?
It's absolutely one and the same. It's a very good analogy, JD. I mean, for those people who don't remember, and ultimately Tom DeLay was exonerated, by the way, but not before he lost his position in Congress and millions of dollars in legal bills later, where a county prosecutor, Ronnie Earl, used his office to get rid of Tom DeLay by bringing these false charges of campaign finance violations, which again, as I said, were ultimately the appeals court in Texas threw them out. And in this case, these people had some notice. I mean, understand something. This is the second John Doe proceeding that the Democratic prosecutors brought against Scott Walker. They brought one against him in the very first 2 years of office. It cost millions of dollars of taxpayer money in Wisconsin and absolutely found zero. Nothing was, and so after that was unsuccessful, they thought, well, we have to try this again. Let's come up with another theory. And that's when they came up with this whole campaign finance theory involving the recall and elections that were not even elections at the time that the supposed offenses took place. So the campaign finance laws didn't even kick in at that time. So that's why the judges have thrown this out. They said there's no violation of law here. But but they're going to keep going, and they're going to keep going. And the National Democratic Party is financing all of this, and you have unscrupulous prosecutors who are playing instead of being law enforcement. These Democratic prosecutors have now become enforcers for the Democratic Party, just like Eric Holder in Washington. It's all the same part. It's all the same thing. They're doing it all over the country.
So what this means, apart from the partisan warfare right now, systemically, philosophically, for where we head as a people, to politicize differences or to trump up charges for the purpose of casting doubt on one's political opponents, if this becomes standard operating procedure, what does it portend for the future of elective politics in our country?
Well, I think it has the effect of totally discouraging people from normal people don't want to participate in things like that, and participating in that by putting themselves up for election. I come back to the IRS scandal. I get, this whole business about the quote-unquote lost emails. I have been getting emails and calls from people from all over the country who want to tell me things, but they're scared to death. They're federal employees. They're willing to tell the truth, but they're scared to death. They say we're being watched like hawks. So I think that we are in a very dangerous time in our country. They know that the people who are supposed to be enforcing the law are instead acting in a political, partisan manner. And I think it's very frightening, and it does not bode well for our country. We have to arm wrestle our country back.
Okay,
That's the only thing I think we can do.
We have about a minute left, Cleta. You mentioned the whole IRS situation, those emails going poof. You can't find them. What is your evaluation of that claim by the Internal Revenue?
We'll talk about that more, but I've just been hearing from people all over the country who say, I work in the federal government. What they're saying is a lie. It is not possible. It is not true. And so hopefully through our litigation, through our lawsuit, and through the congressional subpoenas, eventually it will be slow, but hopefully we will eventually get to the truth. That's what we're trying to do.
Cleta Mitchell, attorney and partner at the Washington law firm Foley Lardner, we thank you for your time and your insights, and we will have you back to talk about the IRS.
Okay.
We appreciate it very much. Cleta using the words chilling effect. It's the country who haven't weighed in on this.
We also can't wait to hear what John Koskian, the IRS commissioner, is going to say today, due on Capitol Hill, to answer the questions, where is the hard drive? Where are the emails?
And your comments invited at those sources via social media.